This is a repair video of a Craig 404. I got this little Craig on eBay and it's very small. It's one of the smallest tape recorders that I have in my collection. As you can see, compared to this marker here, it's very small. And let's just use a tape measure here and see. We're looking at about 5 1/4 by 3 1/2, and it's a little thick. 2 inches deep. So it's a little tiny reel-to-reel tape recorder in the early 60s. It's got a beautiful leather covering on it, a leatherette covering on it. It needs a little bit of cleanup, as you can see, but it has the controls here on front, the on and stop, volume control here, and there's a record play switch and the inputs and outputs. Like I said, it needs a little bit of work, a little bit of cleanup, but it shouldn't be too difficult to work. This is the speaker and the battery compartment. We open it up here and it looks to be in pretty good shape. It's got a speed control, and notice that the reels are 2 1/4. Yeah, 2 1/4 inch reels, and they fit some of my other tape recorders that I have in my collection, but they are pretty small. There's speed control there. And you'll notice that it is a rim drive. Right there in the middle is the motor that drives this rubber tire right here and drives the reels. You'll also notice that it's got a Sanyo label here, so it's a Craig but made by Sanyo. Came with this little Craig microphone. It's rather heavy. It's feels like it's got a weight inside of it. It's kind of a heavy metal case. It's got the double connectors on it, the record microphone, and the switch. You see the color coding, the red and black color coding lines up with the corresponding jacks. And it also came with a little earphone. It's a little crystal earphone. Got somebody's earwax on the tube. We'll have to clean that. But you can see there inside the crystal element, the foil element that vibrates to create the sound. It's got these little round tips on them, which was kind of an early production design. It plugs right in the ear jack there. So let's get into it. Okay, we'll jump right in here and open the battery compartment. And I was surprised to see that it came with batteries. Normally the seller doesn't include batteries. There's a little bit of paper here on these edges to keep that metal from vibrating when the tape recorder is playing. There you can see the volume control. I like these volume controls and speed controls. They have tick marks on them to let you know where you're at. There's the motor. 4 AA's. Don't know what condition they're in, but let's put the cover back on and let's fire it up and see if it even runs. Okay, we got rewind and forward and off and start. So if we flip it to rewind, it automatically pops it into on. And then there's play, we actually should be hearing something. Interesting setup of the switches. So we're not getting any scratching sound here, and no audio at all. There's the speed control. The speed control, I understand, is like 1 7/8 at the slowest speed, and then around 3 3/4 at full speed. It doesn't give you a lot of time to record, but these are little tiny tape reels, so it was made really for speech. So we've got to have the volume set correctly, that we've got to have it set on play. We've got that right. So maybe we need some deoxit on the connectors on the volume control and on the switches. We can use the 100% liquid, or I can use the spray, the 5% or whatever that is, 5% spray. It's a miracle drug for these vintage electronics. And then I'm also going to use the 456 rubber rejuvenator. It's a very gentle tire and pinch roller rubber rejuvenator, and we'll put that on the tires. We'll clean the shaft of the motor. And then of course we've got to clean the tape head, which is right in here. One of these comes off here to be able to give us access to the head. That one there probably snaps off to be able to give us access to clean the head. And then it's got the magnet over here. We'll clean all of that. Then we'll demagnetize the head to make sure that we don't have any problems there with the creating audio problems for our playback. Okay, this screw holds the reel catch, I'll call it, and that just unscrews. And then there's a retaining set screw here on the spindle. I'll turn it there, and you can see it right there's a retaining screw. It's a little set screw. Screws into the side of the spindle and holds the spindle in place. So we'll take that set screw out, or loosen it. Pardon my hand. And once that screw is loose, the spindle will just pull right off. And you see the rubber tire is in pretty good condition. Right here is a little brake nub that pops up and down. Let me show you. It's in the up position right now, so it would be in contact with the rubber tire. And when I push the switch here to on, the little brake drops out of sight and releases the spindle so it can spin. And you can see the little track mark there where the brake has been touching the rubber and stopping the reel from spinning. So when the motor's running in either position, the brakes are turned off to allow the spindles to turn in either direction, and you can notice that the motor toggles back and forth. So let me pop this other reel catch out, take it out. It's got the little wire there on it. You can see that holds the reel in place. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll pull the set screw. There's the other brake nub for the rewind spool. You can see it popping up and down there. We also have some noise on the amplifier, which is a good sign, possibly a good sign. Not sure what that's an indication of, but it is making some racket. So the motor seems to be operating correctly, back and forth like it should. so I can figure out the combination of these switches. It's a little confusing to me at first as to obviously with the motor turned off it'll switch back and forth here, or the motor turned on. Then you got a separate record switch, and you can see the magnet toggles back and forth right there. Just twists back and forth and comes in contact with the actual tape in record mode. So next what we're going to do is we're going to oil these spindle shafts and the bearings, or bushings rather, and we'll take a look and inspect the rubber of these tires to make sure there are no grooves or notches in them. And you can see that the rewind spindle looks pretty good. Looks like I don't see any notches there caused by the motor. And this one looks pretty good as well. I don't see any notches or any cracking. Right, we've got 4 screws here that hold the transport mechanism inside the case, and when those 4 screws are pulled out, the transport will just slip right out of the case. Okay, the transport pulls out of the case, but as you can see, we've got the microphone and earphone jack and the record here that causes us to have to pull this out at an angle. Pull it out and then slip it out. So if I can get my fingernail underneath the edge here, should be able to just slip it right up and out. There we go, and it just pops out. The only thing holding it together now is the wire to the speaker. And very simple setup. You can see the controls here, moving the motor back and forth. You got a spring bar right there attached to the forward and rewind, and then it's got the on and off switch, or the start and stop switch, and how it interacts with the direction of the motor with this control bar. Then we've got the record play switch here, and I want you to see how the record, in the record position, it toggles that magnet, rolls that magnet over into the path of the tape. You can see that lever twists the cylinder that the magnet is installed on and allows you to record. Okay, I set the transport back into the shell just to keep the wires from tugging, and I'm going to pull this little sleeve right off. It just pops right off of those posts. We have access there to the tape pads that ride the face of the tape. There's the record playback head, and here's the magnet, the erase magnet, that when we flip it into record, the magnet switches over into the path of the tape and erases the tape. Little crud there, we clean that off. But you can see the magnet right there moves in and out of the path of the tape. Okay, we're going to do a cleanup and lubrication of all the points, necessary points here, and then we'll oil everything and use the tire rubber rejuvenator on all of the rubber, and reassemble things. And then we'll use a little bit of this plastic restorer on the exterior of the unit and clean that up as well. Next, I'm going to try a couple of things here, some goof off and some other to get rid of this glue where these labels have slid and the glue is stuck to the metal, to the aluminum case. So I'll clean all of that glue off and get, I'm not going to try to straighten the labels, but I'll just take a little bit of meticulous work here, carefully cleaning the labels, around the labels. I don't want to remove any of the label printing or anything, so it's quite a bit of work here to clean all of this up. Took several minutes to clean these up with Q-tips and some goof off or Vaseline. I've even used Vaseline, so cleaned up pretty nice. Okay, back to the electronics. This is the circuit board, a little close-up of the circuit board, and you can see it's pretty cruddy. I had to clean that up, and I replaced all the capacitors and discovered that one or two transistors were bad, the little germanium transistors, so I replaced them, and still was not able to get the unit to play until I did a little more research. And if you'll notice right in the middle of the screen here, let me zoom in. This blue line is the power line that is the DC voltage bias to the record head. And I wasn't able to record on this unit. It was very distorted and really weak. And what I discovered was that this 25K resistor right here was open. And it took me a while to figure that out. A couple of weeks, in fact, of research and reading and tests, finally discovered that that 25K resistor was open, and I replaced it and immediately restored the recording and even the playback capability of the recorder. So I was really thrilled to finally figure out what was actually wrong after having replaced all the capacitors and having the set open and closed a dozen times at least. I was really getting frustrated. So thankfully, a good friend of mine on YouTube found me a schematic, and I was able to work from that. And if you recall, when we first started this up, we had no audio or very, very little audio. So it took a couple of weeks of troubleshooting and repair, and I finally replaced a couple of transistors, replaced all the caps, and that open resistor, and this was the result.
Already I'm recording now after replacing two USB 186 transistors, both the input and the driver transistor on the Craig TR404. The playback is less distorted, and we'll see if the recording is up to snuff. I have not replaced the 187 push-pull amplifier transistors in hopes that I don't have to do that, but we'll see how this recording turned out with the chrome crystal microphone. Alrighty, well that's a wrap
for the Craig TR404. We're running at high speed and volume, nearly full volume on the Chrome microphone. And I think we've got this one working about as good as it's going to do. The small recorders with a little tiny 4-transistor amplifier, it's about as best as you can expect. So we'll call this one finished, and hope you enjoyed this repair video. So there you have it. This repair took about 2.5 weeks to complete. A lot of patience and some research. Thankfully, the tape recorder community was a great help to me on this repair. Thanks for watching.